Mistress Nicolette here. Mistress Nicolette here. I I kind of stepped in at the last minute just because we felt that there was a lack of classes, and so I came up with a class that I thought might be interesting to people. If I keep looking up in the corner there, is because you guys are up here on the big screen and I'm working down here on the little screen, so that's why I keep looking up in the corner. I'm not ignoring you, I promise. I thought I'd give you a little bit of a discussion or a talk about working on group projects. Group projects are, I was just in the other class a few minutes ago about organizing your projects and doing all the work for organizing, getting yourself enthused and all the rest of it. That's great. It was a fabulous class. Try applying that to a group of people. Doesn't work. Absolutely doesn't work. In that, not only do you have your own problems, you've got everybody else's problems, and you're trying to manage that. And all you can do, really, in my opinion, is to just keep after people and keep talking to people and working with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you one of the projects, that big group projects that I've worked on, because I've worked on quite a number. I was instrumental in both the Stormhold and the Krae Glas Baronial rug projects. So I actually helped design the Stormhold rug and did a lot of work on both of them. It was tons of work in there. So they actually worked really well. They were quite exciting to work on. And so after those two successes, we started a third project, which was the Baronial cloak for Krae Glas. Now, I did not start this project. This was started by somebody else. So the beginnings of this project are what I remember happening at the time, and the notes that I have now from the beginnings of the project. One of the things that we did is we had a committee, and there was about 6 of us, I think, that worked on this committee, and we were looking into what we wanted as a baronial cloak. One of the things we decided very early on is we didn't want something long, and we didn't want something very heavy. And when you're starting to talk about the amount of work that goes into these projects, heaviness and how heavy they are when you put them on was an issue. So we decided to keep it as a short cloak. So in doing that, I'm going to try sharing my screen here. So just give me a second here while I share my screen. Can you see that? I'm going to assume you can see that. These are 5 of, there were many more, but these are 5 of the cloaks that we used as our basis for forming our cloak. As you'll notice, they're all half circle cloaks, which is something we wanted, and they're all short. 2 of them, this one and this one, have a band down the front, and this one, there's 3, have bands down the front, and we like that. We thought that that would be a good way of showing off the massive embroidery skills of our group. Now, one of the things that we had then, it was doing the design. And the way we did the design was I think we had, this is where she kept doing this. We decided to draw it up, make some corrections, rework it again, and we kept reworking it until we got what we thought we could accomplish with the people we had in our group at the time. Now, I will say that the people we had in the group at the time are kind of a different set of people that we have in the group now. Unfortunately, this project was started in about 2012. So it's been a long time coming. This is the plan that we eventually ended up with. And as you see, we have the bands down the front. Mouse. Bands down the front. We had the baronial device on the back. We had the baronial devices being embroidered for the center down the back. And we had some bands that went around the edges. The original design was to put a single color of silk for the actual cloak. And then once we had the cloak ready to go, we were going to then work on this band. We have, as we cut the cloaks out, we were given some fabric. There was not enough fabric to make them very long. They became even shorter than we originally envisioned, but that was the fabric we have, and we wanted to go with the fabric we had, and we thought we could make it work, so we went with it. As we started the bands, what happened was our population shifted somewhat for various different reasons. And it seemed like we would go from one step to another and not have people to work on the next step. So what happened was we worked really hard to keep the project going, and the people who could work on it, working on it, trying to get new people involved to some success, and then at other times to not success. The woman who was in charge of the project to start with then got a case of life, and she was unable to continue the project, and she turned it over to me. And this is where I start picking up the pieces. What I got started with was, let me go back to here. What I got left with, you see this pit without the gold work. That was where the project was when I picked it up. Just the silks being put down, ready for the gold work, but the gold work hadn't been done yet. So I had to find people to do gold work. Do you know how many people know how to do gold work? Not very many. So I had to then teach people to do the gold work. And I thought I did a pretty good job of it. And we have all the gold work done now. Then it was embellishing them, which is putting the pearls on, which of course is putting the pearls on. But what the whole thing is supposed to look like when it's finished is can you see that? That's what it was supposed to look like. And as you can see, what we have at the moment is not going to look like that. But you have to work with what you have as people who can, and the abilities of the people you're working with. At the moment, the people that we're working with in the barony are not massive embroiderers. They're not people who can do this kind of work. So we're trying to find things that they can do and still have a good looking cloak when we're finished with it. So we're ending up with just the pearls without all the fancy bits around it. But you know, these things happen. The backs of the cloaks where the devices are supposed to go, we thought we had it right, and we actually don't have it right. I'm not extremely happy with it, but I'm not going to change it because one of the girls has spent a lot of time doing the black work on it, and or the cross work on it. We decided, as we were working with people who didn't have a lot of embroidery knowledge, to go with the knowledge that these people had and not try to enforce periodness about it. We just wanted to get the cloaks done. So we have taken it to probably to a lesser extent than what we should have, but that's what I'm pretty sure I had it here. So this is the devices that are ready to put on the back. Unfortunately, the woman who did it couldn't do really, really tiny stitches, so we got fabric that was a little bit bigger, and she's done them a little bit bigger. And when we put them on the cloaks, they're almost too big, but we're going to go with it and then work out a different design for putting more on when the time comes that we need to put more on. We have the bands. Did you remember the bands that went around the hem? We wanted to get some tablet weaving for that. And we were hoping to get some nice, fine, beautiful tablet weaving, because the woman who originally did this was a beautiful tablet weaver. She could have done it beautifully, but she's no longer with us. So we had to come up with something else. So instead, we opted to go with a young lass who had learned tablet weaving and was going gangbusters on it and doing a really, really good job. We went with her talent, and they're a little chunkier than I would have first. Oh, that's not it. Oh, where'd they go? They were right here. Now they're hiding. They're a little chunkier than I would have originally wanted, but she's done a really good job on them. So everything's going to be a little bit more clunky than the woman who started it originally envisioned, but we're coming to it. Trying to keep people's interest up. We've actually come across some interesting bits in that we had one woman who I taught to do the gold work. She was finding it difficult to work with the gold work and to actually get the tension right on it. So oops, hang on, I hit the wrong button. She created this frame that she could put the gold work on and actually do the gold work on the frame. That didn't stretch the work. It didn't crease the gold, because gold does fold if you fold it too often. And so she created this framework. So she used her skills in other things, which she's an engineer. So she engineered something very clever for us, and got the couching done very, very quickly. Now we have to put the thing together, and as we've got the pieces, starting to get the pieces back, each of these, with the amount of pearls that we have on it, without all the other work that was going to go on it, are quite heavy. They're a couple pounds a piece. Now that may not seem like a lot, but you start hanging it along with the fabric and all the rest of it, and we realized that that single layer of silk that we were going to use was not going to be strong enough. It was going to look weird. So we've redesigned how we're going to do it. It's going to have a lining, and it's going to have basically an interface, and we're going to put a layer of flannel in the middle between the two layers of silk. So it has some body, so that when you hang all this on, it will actually be strong enough to hold it up and actually have some form to it. Oh, I didn't show you the other bit of this. The other bit of this was we used the talent of another young lass in our barony, and she does, she's a digital illustrator. So she does a lot of illustrating, but she does it all digitally. And she designed for us just pulling it up here so I can have it to show you. She designed for us some sea monsters. So these sea monsters are going to go along the hem of the cloaks, and they're going to be embroidered. They're being embroidered on blue silk, and they look like this. So it's only outline stitch. There's no fancy stitching about it. It's just very easy, and anybody can do it. So we've actually gotten a few people involved now to be able to do this and actually get these. Now there's 8 of these, however, well, 8, there's 16 of these, because there's 8 on each cloak. So we needed 16 people. We didn't quite get 16 people, but we got a few doing a couple, so we're actually quite getting there. Our plan is to, now that we're starting to get all the pieces together, to have a couple of workshop days where everybody gets together and everybody starts pulling it together. I think at that stage, there'll be a lot of flaws in the design and what we have that will be worked out. And I think that a lot of the toing and froing and a lot of the doubts in my mind will get sorted, I hope, because I'm still not sure it's going to work, but there's been an awful lot of work gone into it so far, so I have to find a way for it to work. So does anybody have any questions? I think we can open it up to questions.
I'll just stop recording.